Okay, welcome, Drink with James, episode 121. I have a absolute shitload of stuff to talk about before we get into questions, so I'm gonna rapid fire this here. 1, conference last week, fire. If you missed it, shame on you. Amazing, great to meet all of you, people who came, who are watching this. It was so nice to meet everyone. The speakers were incredible. In general, there was just like such a positive energy there. I know our staff left feeling super energized and excited about getting back to work and excited about what all of y'all are doing. So to those who came, thank you for supporting. Thank you for bringing that energy. It is going to carry us through the rest of the year, so appreciate that. Number 2, today, which is today as in when I'm filming, not today as when you're watching this, but we have finally re-released the latest evolution of follower health and verified authentic in verified reach. This is by far our most requested thing from influencers over the last 6 months. When Instagram changed the algorithm, when Instagram changed the API back in April, we lost the ability to verify influencers' followings in the same way that we used to. And you know, instead of cobbling together a solution and putting it out, we spent the last 6 months testing and thinking about different ways to do this, and we're really excited to finally release it to the world today. We're already seeing the badges come through. If you haven't applied, there should be kind of a banner on the top of the site, or you can go to fohr.co/verified-reach. Tim can put a link up and apply for your verification. Should come through within the hour after you apply if you get verified. If you don't, you know, you got some work to do. I don't really know what to say there, but this system is looking at your business insights data and, you know, comparing you to thousands or tens of thousands of other influencers and using averages and all these different things to kind of say if you have verified reach. What it basically means is a similar thing of verified authentic and follower health before was, you know, we're just trying to ascertain how engaged and authentic your following is. And when you publish a photo, how likely are your followers to see that photo? There are massive swings in the amount of people reached when an influencer or a person publishes a photo on their Instagram. We are trying to quantify those swings, and we are trying to reward those people who are at the top, you know, higher echelon of the group, and let brands know that we think that those people, you know, are reaching a number of people that we feel comfortable saying that, like, this is verified, we feel like this is legitimate and real, and someone that you should be working with. So, you know, everything we do, the reasons we do this, is not to call people out, it's not to put people on blast, it's not to, you know, say people bought followers. It is to validate the industry, it is to validate those influencers who have built their following organically, it is to validate those people who are keeping their audience engaged and putting the hard work in every single day. So if you've got the badge, congratulations. If you haven't applied, apply. If you applied and you didn't get the badge, you know, there is, it doesn't necessarily mean you bought followers. It just means that for some reason your following isn't as healthy as some others. There are ways to fix that. And a lot of the things that we talk about in the show and trying to keep your audience engaged and, you know, keep them coming back for more, those things can change those numbers for you, and you can always reapply if, you know, down the line if you were not verified after your application. So do not despair. You can fix it. So that is that. One other thing is that tomorrow, which is, you know, tomorrow as in when I'm filming, but we're launching something called Influence the Election. Influence the Election is a kind of call to influencers to pledge and say that I am going to talk about the election. I'm going to talk about voting in this midterm. I think the time to be apolitical has passed. I don't think that is something that anyone with a following can really do anymore. Taylor Swift posted about voting recently, and she, for years people have been trying to get her to speak about it, but she hasn't, because she didn't want to alienate her Republican audience. But I think the pressure on her and the damage it was doing to her brand not talking about it was so great that she finally had to step up and say something. I think that if you're someone who has a following online, we think that you should be talking about voting. We are not saying how you should talk about it. We're not saying who you should necessarily vote for. I obviously think you should vote for Democrats all the way down the line, but we just think that you should be talking about voting, and you should be encouraging your audience to do the same. So if you haven't seen the Influence the Election stuff, please go to influencetheelection.org. Pledge your support. We'll send you some really pretty Insta stories. Not participating in this election, not participating in what's happening in the country is a statement. So you can no longer just say, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to make a statement about this. Not saying something is a statement, and you don't want to look and be on the wrong side of history here. And what you're going to piss some people off that that don't agree with you. I don't think as influencers, as people who have a following online, that you can stand on the sidelines anymore. And Influence the Election is a rallying cry around that. So check it out. Influencetheelection.org. Tell your friends. Now, let's get into questions. Question number 1, how do we at Fohr choose influencers for campaigns? That is a great question. So we are running fairly large volume of campaigns, between 60 and 75 campaigns a week happening generally. We select influencers in a few ways. So the way we talk about this stuff is art and science, right? And so we always see the two sides of every coin. So on the science side, we are looking at data, we're looking at your growth numbers, we're looking at your follower health, we're looking at your engagement rates, we're looking at all of that data. We're looking at what kind of brands that you talk about. What is your average percentage of sponsored posts in your feed? All of these numbers and all this data, we're kind of looking at those things to try and slim down from the 60,000 people who are on the platform down to a number that's a little bit more manageable. So we know a client needs somebody in New York City who has an Instagram following of 50,000 people, and they need to be authentic beauty fans who talk about beauty but are also luxury. So we have a number of ways that we can use data to find who hits those kind of key points. And from there, that's when the art side of it comes in. Then our account managers are actually looking at these accounts, they're looking through your feeds and trying to understand, would you be a good fit for the client that we are working for? We try and bring new influencers into the fold as much as possible. We are always pushing ourselves to, look at every new person who signs up, to bring new people into the platform that we're really excited about. When we work with you in the first time, if it is a good experience, that experience is usually shared throughout the team. So, if we worked with someone, then it was a really good experience. That account manager would say, hey, just so you guys know, I worked with this person on this campaign. They were a dream. If you have any work coming up that makes sense for them, you should kick it their way. Which leads to my second point, which is, the easiest way to differentiate yourself with us when working on a campaign is being professional, is being timely, being easy to work with, doing what you say you're going to do, and just being a reasonable partner. It doesn't matter how beautiful your content is. If you're a nightmare to work with, we will do everything in our power to not work with you. Because we have so many things going on and because the team is so busy, it's just not worth our time to have to chase you up if we know we could work with another influencer who is going to be on top of things and we don't have to chase up. So I say it over and over again, but I cannot stress enough how important things like being prompt on email and doing the things that you said you were going to do are in working with us. It's not super complex stuff. We're not asking for the moon here. If you answer your emails and do what you're supposed to do, and of course, if you have some vision and you're good at your job and you can create some beautiful content that we feel like is impactful, that's baseline. Easiest way to continue to work with us. And the other thing is, build a relationship. Like, we are a platform, and we do lean on technology to help us make these decisions because we have so many of them to make. But end of the day, there's a room full of people behind me that work on this stuff. And those people can be swayed by things that aren't numbers as well. And so, if you go to the About page, their pictures and email addresses are all there. It's not that hard to find who these people are. It's not that hard to reach out and introduce yourself. I'm not going to tell you the names of the people that work on the execution team because it should be fairly easy. And if there's 10 other companies like us, you should go email them as well and introduce yourself and say hi. We always say that, like, if you want to work with a brand, the only thing standing between you and that reality is probably one person. It's just getting to know one person and convincing them. Same thing on our team. Now, there's more than one person who's doing it, but building a personal relationship always works. Yeah, if you haven't had a campaign with us, we hear all the time, people have been on the platform for years and they haven't gotten a campaign. There's only so much work, right? We would love to execute every influencer campaign in the world, and that's certainly the goal. But until then, we have our campaigns that we're working on, and we have 60,000 influencers on the platform and 500 to 1,000 new ones signing up every week. There is only so much work to go around. So it is not say anything about you if you haven't gotten the work. It might even be that we just haven't found the right client. There's a lot of more sport and adventure focused influencers who we love, who we can't work with because we haven't had the clients yet. There are photographers and illustrators on the platform that we love that we haven't been able to work with because we don't have the right projects. So, just because you haven't worked with us doesn't mean you're not on a short list of people that we really want to work with. And when we find the right project, if you kind of stay top of mind, much better chance of getting that deal down the line. The other thing is that we have two sides of our business. We've got the campaigns that we manage, and then we have a self-serve platform that hundreds of clients use to do this on their own. And so pretty good chance that you're going to events and getting gifted things and working on campaigns with brands through Fohr, and you just have no idea that that's where they found you. We control a decent amount of the fashion beauty space in terms of a technology tool to help brands do this on their own. So I bet a lot of times when influencers say, I've never worked with you, I say, well, let's rattle off some of your recent collaborations. And they say brand, I was like, that's a client. Brand, that's a client, that's a client. So a lot of times they're working through us, they just don't know it. So. Yeah, so question number 2 is, a lot of brands are asking for a Instagram Insights wrap up 24 hours after the post goes live. But what do you do if for you it takes 3 days to get all those impressions and reach and things like that? And how do you say that tactfully to them? One, in business, I generally find that honesty is never really a bad thing. I think if you said, hey, well, let me step back. One, I question slightly the premise. While I do think that you are getting reach and impressions and saves and interactions on posts for days, I'd say 90% of the value and the eyeballs that are going to see a post see it in the first day. So I think if it were me, I would send it to them because they're looking to see it, and I would say, hey, so my feed, I generally continue to get a good amount of views and impressions and things like that for days after. So I'm going to send you another one of these in a couple days. If you're doing any final reporting to the client, it would be awesome if you could wait a few days just so I can get, all the impressions and everything that into that report. So, that's good for the client, that's good for you. You want the highest numbers that you can possibly get. So I would just be honest there and say, it generally takes a couple days. I don't think you need to say like, because I have an authentic following or because it's organic, it's taking longer. You can just say, from my account, I generally am getting impressions and views for 3 days. So here's where we're at now. I'm going to send you something else in 2 days. If you could hold off, that would be awesome. If not, I totally understand. If they're pushing you really hard, it's probably because they're being pushed really hard by someone else. So, and if you're a campaign of 30 people and everyone else sent their insights in after 24 hours with no note about needing a couple days and you're the only one who didn't, it's not that it can look fishy, but I think you would maybe be a little eye-rolly and be like, oh, come on, just send me the fucking insights. So be honest, tell them you'll have it in a couple days and try and train them so that, the next time you work with them, they know that it's going to be 3 days and not 1. Yeah, we talked about this last show, a couple shows ago, I don't know, but about performance recaps. Yeah, you should absolutely be sending it. You should definitely be sending screenshots of your insights and go back a few episodes and I kind of lay out exactly what you should be doing in those performance reviews. I've gotten a few from influencers that look great. I'm happy to critique them. If you send it my way, I'll keep it, I'll eye it over and send some feedback if you want to email it to me, but that should be standard. You should be doing that for everyone. Let's say you usually get 10,000 impressions on your photos and this time you got 5,000. I always try and get in front of what went wrong. Again, go back to honesty. I would send it to them and I would say, hey, full transparency, this post did not perform as well as I would have liked. I usually get twice as many impressions as this. I'd love to make it up to you with another post in the next couple days. When are you pulling this report together? Because I would like to get another post in there so that I can give you guys kind of what I would be more comfortable with saying was like my best work. So I always try and I joke about it here in the office. I always say let's 8 Mile them. So at the end of 8 Mile when Eminem does he's in the rap battle and he says every single insult that the guy's gonna say to him and shuts it down. I always tell the team do the same thing. Take the thing they're gonna say it first, and provide a solution. So hey, my impressions were much lower than they usually are. That doesn't make me happy. So here's 2 options. I can give you 1 static post or 3 more stories, and that should get us, to where I would feel more comfortable with. So. Yeah, always good to get in front of that stuff. And look, even though you're oh, I'm doing a free post or I'm doing this extra stuff, I cannot stress enough how far that would go with a client. If you came out and said, hey, this didn't do as well as I I'd like to make it up to you. They could just be you're fine. Thank you so much. If they say, oh my gosh, that would be amazing, you're making yourself look amazing and you're making them look really good, because they get to go to their boss and say, oh, and we got some bonus posts out of this person. They're probably not going to say you got bonus posts because you didn't perform well. It's just going to look like bonus posts. So. Question number 3 is, what do you think about so many influencers launching physical products? What do I think of it? I can be cynical. So a lot of times it feels lazy in that it feels transactional. It's like an influencer designed this, capsule collection with a jewelry designer. It's just to me it feels like, oh, this is another way to get look, it makes sense for the brand. They're kind of leaning on, this influencer's brand equity. They're also stroking your ego, saying, hey, do you want to design this thing with us? That said, like Blair Eady's line, I think is great, and it's like very deep. There's a lot of product in there. I think that that looked great. Obviously, something Navy's Nordstrom line did incredibly well. She had $4 million in the first day of sales, which is bonkers and completely unheard of. So it makes, I think it can make sense. It's another way to make money, which is awesome. But as an influencer, I would be patient. If you want to design product, first understand what kind of product do you want to design, and then think about the best way to do that. Just because some random company, sock company comes up to you and says, do you want to do a collab on socks? Doesn't mean you have to do it. And every new physical product you launch dilutes your brand a little bit more. You only get like so many times where you can tell people, I'm doing this collaboration with this brand, I'm doing a collaboration with this brand. So I think if you want to design physical product, if that is something that you kind of want to cash your influence in and do, I would be very considered and slow about how I did it, who I did that with, and what my end goal is. Look, if your goal is just to make some money, I guess you can do something pretty simple, go shill that product, make the money, walk away. If you want to build a line, if you want to be a fashion designer, and that's, the path you want to take out of being an influencer and moving into design, I don't think doing kind of cheap, not super well thought out collaborations is a good way to get there. So step back, take your time, and make sure when you do it, you actually do it right, and make sure you want to be involved in the process. I think, who did I see doing a good job of this? I wrote something to brands recently about The Rock. He did this line with Under Armour, and what I liked is when it launched, they went back and showed all these stories of them working together on this thing, and it kind of laid out everything that they were doing. I think that if you're going to launch a product, make sure that you're super involved and make sure that you document it. Even if you can't publish in real time, document it in a way that you can show your followers that you actually really cared about it. Because when I see a lot of these things, I think they really didn't have a lot of say in this. That the brand sent them some designs, they okayed them, said tweak this, tweak that, and it was done. So I, as a consumer, would want to see you in there. I would want to see you working on it. I would want to see the journey of how you got there. So I think that can add some authenticity and make it feel really real and make it feel like you're super passionate about it. And that's the other thing. It's selling products is really hard. You have to be really, 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 really passionate about it. This product has to be bigger than you. Fohr is a bigger deal than I am. I am in service of this company in a lot of ways. And I will do whatever it takes to make, to kind of add to the success of Fohr and what is happening here. So anything that you do, it needs to feel like that. It needs to feel so much bigger and more important than a sponsored post. You have to talk about it all the time. It has to become a huge part of your life. So if all those things are true, go for it. Send me a link. Maybe I'll buy it. That's it. We're done for today, people.